The AFC Championship is going to be decided on Sunday between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. I got the winner right here. Stay tuned. Hey guys, Donnie here with RightWager.com. AFC Championship football is here, and that's between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Two teams, if we include the playoffs, have won 15 games apiece, and guess what? Only losers combined of 5 total games, and one of those games from the Kansas City Chiefs was a game in Week 17 that they rested their starters versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Tail of the tape, two very well-oiled machines coming after it, and also a very competitive battle, specifically on the statistic sheet. If we take a look at the Buffalo Bills, come in on ProFootballFocus.com, 16th overall on defense. The Kansas City Chiefs come in 18th overall on defense. If we flip it over to offense, tied for 3rd in the league, the Buffalo Bills. Just behind them in 5th place, the Kansas City Chiefs. If we take a look at the seasonal numbers, Buffalo averaged 30 points a game. Kansas City, guess what? 29 points a game. If we look at the defenses and what they've given up this year, 22.3 points a game for the Bills. How about for the Chiefs? 22.3 points per game. Also, if we take a look at the offensive statistics here, pass yards per game, about 285 for the Buffalo Bills, about 305 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then on defense, almost mirrored images again. 123 yards on the ground for the Buffalo Bills. They give up 121 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And how about the pass yards per game on defense? 234 for the Buffalo Bills, 233 for the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game we have in store. Also, take a look at some injury situations, which were big all week. Cole Beasley's got a clean slate of health for this weekend. The same thing with Stephon Diggs. That's going to be great for Josh Allen and his offensive prowess in this game versus that Kansas City defense. Flip it over for offensive football numbers for the Kansas City Chiefs, specifically talking about injuries. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks like he's going to make the start, as well as Sammy Watkins. So all systems go on offense for the Kansas City Chiefs, specifically with the starters. Doesn't look like Le'Veon Bell's going to play, but certainly didn't play all that much last week versus the Cleveland Browns. Probably not having much of an impact, but it looks good from that side on the defensive end. The key defensive injury that we were tracking all week is Rashad Breeland. The concussion that he sustained versus the Cleveland Browns cleared to play. That is big news for that Kansas City Chiefs secondary. To me, he is their best overall cover corner. So how that plays into it, we'll see that when it comes to Sunday afternoon. Now take a look at the weather conditions. Not all that bad, but earlier in the week, we're anticipating some numbers around 50 degrees. That has dropped into the mid to low 30s, winds around 10 miles an hour. So immediately when you start thinking that in playoff football, you say, boy, it seems like cold weather. Maybe they don't play as, up-tempo as they used to. Well, let's just take a look at the Chiefs and the Bills and how they fared. Specifically with the Bills, they've only had a 1-year track record of obviously playing outdoors since, number one, they're not used to making the playoffs, and number two, last year they played the Houston Texans indoors. This year they played 2 outdoor games, both of those games in 30 degrees or less. The first game they did score 27 points versus the Indianapolis Colts and racked up 397 yards of offense. The second game was that blustery game we saw with the Ravens, only scoring 17 points, 7 of that coming on a defensive interception of about 100 yards, and only racked up 220 yards versus the Ravens. So maybe an anomaly, but if we take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs and what they've done over the past 3 years in the playoffs, obviously having home field advantage, you're going to get a lot of those playoff games in. Just about every single one of those games played at 30 degrees or lower, should I say in the 30s or lower. 2 years ago when they played the Colts in the playoffs, a very cold day, 36 degrees. They picked up 31 points in that game and 433 yards worth of offense. They played the Patriots, lost in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago, 37-31, but still able to put up 31 points. Only 290 yards in that game of offense, but they did score 24 points in the fourth quarter of that game. That was the game that they lost in overtime. Flipping it over to last year in 2019, the playoff games that they played versus the Texans, 51 points versus the Titans, 35 points. And both of those games, again, 35 degrees and 18 degrees. Also failed to mention in the 2008 game versus the Patriots, that game was played at kickoff at 22 degrees. So even if we take a look at 2019, the Chiefs' offensive prowess, 434 yards, 404 yards, and also 438 yards in their playoff games, in their 2 playoff games, 434 and 404. Then in 2020, we saw last week, that game was actually kicked off around 42 degrees versus Cleveland. Cleveland, still able to put up 438 yards of offense, even though Patrick Mahomes missed most of the third and fourth quarter in that game. Only scored 22 points, but had 19 at the moment that Mahomes went out early in the third quarter. So if we take a look at a breakdown there for the Chiefs over the past 3 years in the playoffs at home with colder temperatures, an average of 34 points per game and an offensive explosion of just short of 400 yards. That'll play into it. So looking at the Bills offense and the Chiefs, depending on what teams they played, these two teams can operate in cold weather games, specifically the Chiefs, and have a 3-year track record of proving that as well. Injuries to offense that sometimes you want to take in and take out. If we look at the Chiefs itself, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when he plays this year, the offense scores around 31 points a game. When he didn't play this year, scored about 20 points a game. So having that added little, Swiss Army knife out of the backfield that can run and certainly catch passes, that's a big deal, specifically in an Andy Reid offense that's structured a lot around the screen game. We know Travis Kelce will be fine. We know Tyreek Hill will be fine, but that added dimension of a speed back out of the backfield, and we'll see how effective he is on Sunday, because you just don't come in if your game is built on speed and you had a high ankle sprain a couple weeks ago. Sure, they left you out last week just to make sure you were rested and ready for the AFC Championship game, but being out of play for roughly 5 or so weeks, that might have an impact when we take a look at the overall game itself. But I do expect a pretty clean slate tomorrow. The Kansas City Chiefs, rested and ready. The same way we talked about in the video before. When you do have that bye week, extra special this year in the NFL because only one bye per team per conference. And the Chiefs did have that. So they will be rested and ready for this game. And what I mean in this game by rested and ready, when you take a look at some teams that are traveling on the road. We talked about it yesterday when we did the video with the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, they're at home, but also the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road, 3 straight playoff games once they kick off in Lambeau Field. If we take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs, how about this? From the day they landed in Kansas City after playing New Orleans, that was December 20th. Home game versus Atlanta, home game versus the Chargers, bye week, home game versus the Cleveland Browns. So a full month is going to go by where they're rested and ready at home, same bed, same practice facility, same arena, same stadium that they're playing in. That is going to be a big advantage here. I'm really looking forward to the game. I think the Buffalo Bills, cheering them on all year long has been so much fun, but I think it does come to an end in this ball game. I think the Chiefs now rested, ready, and healthy for this game with Andy Reid at coach. I think they move on to the Super Bowl here, and I'm going to call it now. The Kansas City Chiefs will cover the 3 to 3.5, depending on where you're shopping at here, and this game also gets over the number. Kansas City Chiefs 33, the Buffalo Bills 24. I'm Donnie Seymour for RightWager.com. Thanks for taking a look at the video. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and look for a props video out as well for the games on AFC NFC Championship Sunday. Take care. Hey guys, thanks for checking out another video from Sports Betting with Donnie presented by RightWager.com. If you like the video content, please hit the subscribe button below.